Right, now that we're sure we're not going to end up having to kill both those things again if we screw up, time to move on. We're painfully close to the end here. Honestly, didn't think I'd be able to dodge that ramming bastard. Wonder how many games it's going to take in this series before I start feeling confident in what I can do. Sure, I'm not exactly an amazing player here, but it's not like I'm especially terrible either. Though I will admit, the fact that I had to use invincibility twice over the course of Zero Mission has got me nervous how I'm going to do for all the other 2D Metroid games. Well, there's certainly plenty of those squid things bursting from the ground down here. Definitely says something that enemies that used to be rather intimidating are now pretty easy to either ignore or just smash through. Okay, who decided it should be possible to somehow freeze an enemy when we're inside lava? I know it's a sci-fi laser and under most circumstances I wouldn't even question how the freeze ray thing works. Still, we're beneath boiling red lava and we froze something down there into a blue, presumably water ice cube. Not exactly adding up there, is it? Especially since we're seeing some water bubbles rise upwards in the lava after we froze something underneath it. Now, I'm not saying this is downright bad, just something that I found personally a little hilarious. Okay, seems we're going to be going upward for a bit here. I most distinctly remember the approach to the Metroid Queen in this game having few if any enemies. Everyone I know who's played this game and the original Metroid 2 remembers it being eerily quiet when you start getting close to the Metroid Queen. So why is it that we just keep running into these throwaway monsters this far in and at this kind of frequency? Once again, the area starts getting a little darker, but not quite dark enough that we really need a flashlight or something. What the hell is this thing that's slipping down here anyway? Looks like a rock with a small fire on top of it for some reason. At least in the air it does. It's one thing to introduce a monster like the Omega this far into the game. It's another to introduce us to an enemy that's essentially just fodder, masquerading as an annoying threat when we're in the final hour. Sure, they can get in some cheap shots, but they don't really do all that much damage. And they're incapable of taking any abuse in return. Sorry, but that just doesn't feel like what I'd expect from a newly introduced common enemy, as we're going deeper and deeper into a den of supposedly increasingly more dangerous monsters. But then, what do I know about what a den of monsters would actually feel like? Really wish I knew how to describe this kind of environment other than a bunch of green eyeballs staring at us. As a side note, I feel like Samus took a quick look at me directly as if to say, "Really? Just 3 in this area?" I mean, I thought we had a little more than a dozen left at this point, but maybe I lost track somehow. Okay, a lot of screw attack blocks there. Not really sure why, since it wasn't like they were blocking our way, or that destroying them would do anything to prevent us from continuing to move upwards. Also, not too sure why some of those things, when we freeze them, go bouncing like that, but I certainly do appreciate the visual detail. Only the most adaptable. But we're dealing with things that, to me at least, feel approximately as dangerous as the things we were running into near the surface at this point. Though that's probably very unfair to say, since we've got so many defensive and offensive upgrades since the start of the game. It's easy to feel like an absolute badass when you're taking down enemies that used to give you trouble before. It's not so easy when you're dealing with things you've never run into before, and you're ripping through them with pretty much a whole lot of ease. Well, that'll probably open up for us once the next earthquake starts. Well, we found the next Metroid. Wasn't planning on getting a face full of its crotch, but at the same time, it's not like there's any way for me to deactivate the speed booster in this game. Though I do remember being able to deactivate power-ups was a thing in Super Metroid, so maybe when we get to that... Bloody hell, just why am I missing so much when we've already killed one of these things? Hell, I killed that first Omega in this very recording session. It's one thing for me to forget the layout of the land around here multiple times, but it's another altogether for me to forget the timing for shooting missiles into a big monster's chest. As predictable as this thing is, it doesn't change the fact that the damn thing is massive. Doesn't matter if you know what it's gonna do if you don't really have any ground to dodge the attack at that particular moment. Definitely a lot harder to feel sympathy for the Omega form and T-Rex than the other three Metroid forms we've seen. Sure, a few of the earlier forms looked creepy in their own right, but there's a difference between looking like some kind of strange floating spider and being so massive that it can barely fit in the chamber it's fighting inside of. Now, actually that kind of reminds me, why, in an ecological sense, the larger Metroids are further down, where it's damn near impossible for them to leave? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I know in terms of gameplay, that was done so we'd face the harder monsters later on. I'm just doing some minor story nitpicking in a game that doesn't really have too much of a story. That's not to say that I'm not enjoying our journey to the center of this bloody planet with Samus. If I wasn't, then why the hell would I be planning to do the 3DS remake when it covers the exact same mission with updated graphics and updated combat mechanics? It's just that a lot of the games I tend to enjoy usually have more dialogue, more things to read, and various other storytelling elements, while Metroid, especially most of the 2D games, are just, here are monsters. You go kill them until we run out of monsters to throw at you for now. There's a lot that can be conveyed even within the storytelling limits we've seen in this and Zero Mission, but it does have its limits. And yet another Omega! I have the distinct feeling that all three of the Metroids in this area are gonna be Omegas. Understandable, considering how far we've come in the game so far. And it's certainly not like they're at risk of getting old anytime soon. Alright, most of our super missiles hit the sweet spot there. And it didn't take too much more damage than that to bring the big guy down. It's still a pain in the ass to handle, and I won't hesitate to keep rushing to the nearest save point after every Omega we kill, but still, nice to know that it doesn't take long for me to adjust to a new enemy type. Assuming, of course, that enemy doesn't have anything especially cheap going on and make things frustratingly difficult. Onward and upwards again! Just one more in this area, and it's nice to know that the next area isn't that far from here, really. But it's not so nice to know that I'm still dense enough to check a route we already know is going to be blocked off until we destroy the last Metroid in this area. Just what is it with my lack of memory when it comes to going from room to room around here? Well, hello there, big guy. Hope you weren't waiting for too long. Possibly not a good thing that my main instinct against something that large and powerful is to just trade blows with it. Sure, the super missile makes sure that we're ahead in the trade-off, but still, it just plain does not look right to be trading blows with the massive beast that has legs larger than our entire body. And that does it. We've cleared this area of Metroids. And there's the next earthquake we were waiting for. Definitely gonna save before heading to the new area, though. Sure, we don't have to heal that much, but again, I'd like to avoid having to refight anything major that we've already killed if I can help it. Good. Now to see just how much further into the depths we have to go. the very least, I'm curious to see just how many more times we're gonna have to deal with Omegas or earlier forms of Metroid before we deal with the Queen herself. More of those rock slug things. Think that might actually be a Pokemon. And more of the floating, almost cute-looking things with stone wings. At least the things with stone wings felt like an annoying threat to us at some point earlier in the game. I keep anticipating that the next area is going to be the one where we run into the Metroid Queen and keep disappointing myself. I can't blame the game for that, I just have to keep blaming my own iffy memory of the game. And once again, the terrain around us has changed. Just water and normal rocks here. Not the kind of thing you generally expect when you're heading ever closer to the end of a game that has included a water wonderland in a place that could easily be confused with hell. Though maybe I shouldn't have anticipated that the Metroid Queen would love to live in a lava-filled chamber full of the bones of all the prey that it had slaughtered up to now. But can you really blame me, considering just how many fictional monsters would lovingly choose to live in a place like that? I kind of base my expectations on what I've seen in other franchises and other monsters do. And at the very least, the Zerg from StarCraft would have loved a home like that. As would Bowser, a main villain in Mario, the frickin' flagship series of Nintendo. Though, that was probably another mistake on my part. The Metroids are not even vaguely related to the Zerg or anything like them, since they don't assimilate creatures or come swarming in massive numbers. And Bowser, well, he's an entirely different type of beast. Okay, it's certainly been a while since we've seen any other form of life down here. Though part of that is because I keep falling down holes that force me to have to go through the same bit of water and ground again as we keep trying to make progress. Well, this is certainly a massive chamber. A chamber that apparently has some Chozo statues in the background. Right, apparently no point trying to head upwards from here. No clue what the music is trying to do here. Also, no clue how much further we're gonna have to go before the counter up there starts registering more Metroids nearby. Not much point coming back here, that's for sure. Though I will admit that it's an extremely well-hidden path. So many shortcuts and very few of them to places we really care to go to. Somehow the shattered Chozo statue is more creepy than the music right now. No clue why. Also, no clue why I'm somehow concerned about the random bit of green on those platforms there. Okay. 9 is certainly quite a chunk of the remaining Metroids. Wonder how long until we get to that egg. Oh shit! Son of a bitch! Well, at least the ice beam is getting some more use. Dear God, what kind of fucked up life cycle makes the babies more scary to deal with than any of the adults? No wonder the other games in the series barely pay attention to the other Metroid forms. The youngest form is King. Yeah, not so painful when we can see you coming, you bastard. Not sure if it was intentional or not that the weakest form is the one we run into at the end of the game. Especially since it most certainly doesn't feel like the weakest. Son of a bitch! Bloody hell, those things don't take long to drain our health, do they? Really wishing we had more energy tanks down here. And I just stupidly activated a second baby Metroid, when just one was enough to make me worried. Seriously, why the hell does this species bother having other forms if the main one is such a massive danger to deal with? Yeah, definitely not a dignified death in the least this close to the end. Still, at least I know what to expect next time. And that I should tread extremely carefully from here on in.